Gareth Southgate has quit his position as the manager of England. It is over. It is done for Southgate just days after England lose in the finals of Euro 2024 to that late goal against Spain. 8 years, 102 games. Gareth Southgate is gone. Get in the comments. I know it's going to be a busy one because this has been a hot debate on Southgate for a long, long time. I'm going to give you my view. We're going to have a look at Southgate's statement. I'm going to give you the results of a poll that I put up yesterday. Just before you get in those comments, all I'll say, there is no silver bullet in this debate. There's no one bit of information you can give that wins or loses the argument on Gareth Southgate, because this is a very, very nuanced discussion, let's just say. This from the FA website, and just look at that second line there. It's time for a change and a new chapter. And I'll put my colours to the mast right now. I agree that almost the debate we're about to have of did he do a good job or a bad job? Was he good or bad for England and for English football? That becomes secondary, because I think whatever, it had run its course and it was time for a change. I could not have had anyone better alongside me in Steve Holland. Be interesting to see where he pipes up after this. 102 games. Squad we took to Germany, full of young talent, and they can win the trophy they all dream of. I'm proud of them. Special thanks all to the backroom staff, best fans in the world, blah, blah, blah. I think the key line, you can sum it up, it's time for a change and time for a new chapter for England and for Gareth Southgate. As I said, thought there was something in the water here. I put a poll up on the channel yesterday, 23 hours ago. 2,300 of you, I can't talk, voted that Gareth Southgate should stay or go. 82% of you wanted Southgate to go. 82%. That doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make you evil. Some people are going to be dicks about this and say horrible things, but I don't think I'm a dick, and I thought time was up and it was time to move on. I greatly respect someone like Jamie Carragher saying, look, do it for another 2 years, but I do think there's a certain amount of just being scared of the unknown in what Carragher was saying. I do acknowledge that international football is a unique beast. And one of my bugbears is the comparison from international management to club management. I think it's totally irrelevant. In terms of what Gareth Southgate does next, maybe there's some relevance with his leadership skills, but the job is just chalk and cheese, isn't it? The day-to-day hubbub of club football versus, you know, the massive, and Southgate's right, the massive national events that tournament games are, and not being able to buy or sell players and just picking up the squads at little points during the year. It's a very, very unique thing. Let's talk then about Gareth Southgate's legacy. And again, please, this is not binary. There's not one thing that decides what Southgate's legacy is to make it good or bad. There's good bits and there's bad bits, and there's lots of it, and we need to acknowledge all of them as part of a nuanced, balanced conversation, rather than the ding dong, the witch is dead we're going to get from one side. Those people are awful, but just as bad are the be careful what you wish for, you hounded him out people on the other side. We don't need those extremes. Get into the middle here, guys. Acknowledge both sides and we can have a good debate. And the first part of it is that England were such a mess for Gareth Southgate to even get the job in the first place. We had Big Sam, didn't we, in his mega pints like Johnny Depp, and that came and went. And basically nobody wanted the job, did they? Nobody wanted to be the England manager. It was once the greatest job in English football, wasn't it? If you were Don Revie and you'd built a dynasty at Leeds. You got the job. Bobby Robson at my club, Ipswich. You got the job. Graham Taylor stormed up through the leagues. You got the job. Glenn Hoddle, one of England's greatest players and the hot young thing. You get the job. Terry Venables, don't want to miss anybody out. Just not been the case, had it? And we were ending up with Steve McLaren and Roy Hodgson. Yes, he was a older, wiser, tenured guy. And Big Sam. And that was where we were. And the first thing we do need to say that Gareth Southgate did that was good was he picked. And I kind of look at England as at that point as a drunk guy late at night on a night out. And you just got to get him out of the pub, out of the club, into the taxi, hope he doesn't vomit all over it and get charged a load of money to clean it up. Get him to sleep, get some water in him, and hopefully not too long into the next day, his hangover's not going to be terrible and he'll be back. That was England, wasn't it? And Southgate did pick England up off the floor with the expectations completely at bottom. And I've got to say, the Russia World Cup, I loved it because the expectations were nothing. We played 3 at the back. We scored a load of goals from set plays, got all the way to the semi-finals. And all of a sudden, with the context of the expectations, my God, I'm struggling today, being nothing, I really, really enjoyed that. Now, all of a sudden, the expectations are high. And here we are in England for the Euros. The Euros arguably are easier than the World Cup. I mean, maybe you can debate that. But the tournament was about the place. It was in England as well. I wonder, sliding doors moment. I know international, worldwide, global pandemic isn't a tiny sliding doors moment. I wonder if that tournament had been played when it was supposed to, in front of full stadiums, whether things might have been different. I don't know. And this is the bad now, isn't it? Because England should have won that tournament, shouldn't they? They found their way through. They beat the Germans. Everything opened up. The Spanish weren't what they are now. Again, I mentioned the Germans. It wasn't great. And France got knocked out by Switzerland. All the bidding was done for them. They had to beat Italy in the final. They took the lead. They had them on the ropes in the second half. And we came up short, didn't we? That's the bad, I have to say. World Cup 2022 out in Qatar. Again, a weird tournament. Unique, wasn't it? Squeezed in December in the middle of a season. The Messi versus Mbappe final. And I'm less certain on this one than I am. I can sit here and be quite bolshy and say we should have beaten England. Against France, I thought we were quite good. They have a great generation. They got to the final. It was a coin flip game. You can say we should have won. You can say we were unlucky. I accept both arguments. This last tournament, Spain were the best team, weren't they? Spain, when you reel it off, beat England, beat Germany, beat France along the way. I think I'm missing one out. There's another world champion. So they beat 4 world champions, and I'm probably missing somebody out from the Spanish. But they deserved it. They were the best. That does not excuse the fact that England didn't perform to where they should have. England got to the final, which is great. Again, always good and bad with Southgate. England were hopeless, absolutely hopeless in a number of the games. And I feel that if you're looking at the whole picture of that tournament and you don't try and use the silver bullet of, Ben, they got to the final and they lost it 4 minutes from the end of the tournament, which is very tempting to use in a debate. But if you're looking at the whole picture, not good, I don't think. So I'm kind of split. World Cup 2018, I think it was brilliant. I think he did amazing. Euro 2020, I think it's a failure. I think we should have won. World Cup 2022, I think kind of okay and maybe a bit unlucky. Maybe could have beaten France. Maybe should have beaten France. I don't know. You tell me. Euro 2022, if you take out the silver bullet of the, the fact that the team got to the final, I don't think it's good. So I think the net ledger on the tournaments, if you take the tournaments in isolation, which you shouldn't, because we need to take everything, i.e. where England were when he went in, and, building back up the fan base, and other things we'll talk about in a second. I think in the tournaments, it's under par net when you look at the whole four. Let me know your take on that. But it's not just that. There are really important things that Gareth Southgate's done. He re-engaged the fan base in 2018. He stopped the players being such juvenile idiots like they were in the golden generation where they couldn't sit together. He made England, it sounds ridiculous for an international team of the country with the biggest league in the world, more professional, more organised. We took tournaments and tournament play seriously. And I think this might be Southgate's biggest downfall. He studied international football to a fault and tried to replicate what had been done before. And I think that's his biggest downfall because I think he obsessed over tournaments being won by pragmatic teams. Defences win tournaments, penalty shootouts. You have to go to extra time, blah, blah, blah. He got most of that right. But ultimately, he was beaten. Look, 2018 was too early, fine. Whatever, they wouldn't have beaten France in the final anyway, would they? 2020, he was beaten by a better in-game manager in Roberto Mancini, I think. 2022, again, I say coin flip. In 2024, a coin flip against Mbappe, Griezmann, etc. in the French stars. In 2024, he was beaten by a country that played pressing, attacking football that were developing something over a long time, not a pragmatic defences win tournaments. You know, we don't have the players for long enough to develop this massive pattern of play. Sorry, Gareth, Spain did it. And that's what you got beaten by. So I think his kind of biggest strength in taking it so seriously and studying international football, where I think we've been a bit arrogant in the past. When you hear, England managers, even Terry Venables and Glenn Hoddle saying they were choosing the penalty takers in the penalty shootout, whilst all the other countries who were beating us had it all mapped out from months before and had everything kind of granularly sorted out. And like we say, the Man United and Liverpool players couldn't coexist in the early noughties. Okay, we know the French have had big fallouts. We know the Dutch have had big fallouts. But come on, come together as a nation to win. It's what we've been unable to do. So, look, on the one hand, people are going to be really cruel and really unkind and say, good riddance, get lost. Let's get somebody new in. Fine, if you want to be that way, be that way. On the other extreme, people are going to do, and I had this as an Ipswich Town fan when Mick McCarthy went, and it was a very complex situation, and really idiotic people from the outside went, you hounded him out, be careful what you wish for. And it was frankly like, F off, don't patronise me, you don't know the half of it. We've got to talk about both sides of this and meet in the middle. There is good, there is bad. I think he should have won a tournament. I think he should have won Euro 2020. I can forgive the other stuff. I'm not going to say success or failure, period, because there are a lot of successes in knitting everything together, and he will leave the England setup in an infinitely better position than he did. In tournaments, in game, there is an argument that he failed and that he should have won a tournament. But there's so much nuance to this. Let me know your take. Don't try and shoot a silver bullet at me or anyone in the chat. Doesn't work like that. This debate is not that simple. It's too complicated. I sound like Gareth Southgate discussing international football. It's too complicated to say he got to more finals than any other England manager. It's a terrible argument. Takes out all the nuance and all the discussion. Or he didn't win anything, so he must be a failure. Again, too simple. Do better in the comments and let me know your thoughts. And also let me know your thoughts on two things. Where does Gareth Southgate go next? I would suggest the best thing he could do is take another international job. But I think he wants a club job. And I've said already, international football has no bearing on how good you are as a club manager. So, yes, he's been a great statesman and a great communicator. And I think a really good leader without being a master tactician and a winner of a tournament. But I don't think that entitles you to a top club job. I just don't think it's the same thing in the slightest. And who next for England. Again, for the 15th time in this video, just because you are a good club manager, like Jurgen Klopp, like Thomas Tuchel, like Eddie Howe, like, who else is going to get linked? Graham Potter. You might not be as well suited to this as Lee Carsley, the under-21 boss, is. And we have cooed over Germany in the mid-noughties, Das Reboot, which is a great book by Raphael Honigstein, where Joachim Low was sat on the bench for a lot of tournaments and in the German system before he got the job. He was in there for years and years and years building something up. I think it's better to push somebody through, as much as it would be such fun to have Jurgen Klopp for 2 years or 4 years. But haven't we tried that with Fabio Capello and Sven? Or maybe they were a little bit past their prime. Maybe Jurgen Klopp is in his prime. Anyway, you are entitled to your opinion. Give it to me in the comments on who should be the next England manager. Where does Gareth Southgate go now? And what is Gareth Southgate's legacy? Don't forget the nuance. Let the debate rage. Southgate quits England.